merciless struggle for power rages. Gangs, corporate agents, hustlers, religious cultists, politicians, and all manner of criminals strive to outplay one another. Ordinary people get caught in the crossfire.
Cyberpunk is one of those genres that I just can't resist. Sometimes that isn't such a good thing.
I'm already having a shitty day. Don't make it work.
But if you take a small indie team, a long-beloved tabletop franchise, and a nearly $2 million Kickstarter campaign, you get a fairly average game. Or so I've heard. I haven't actually played Shadowrun Returns. What I have played is Shadowrun Dragonfall. The Director's Cut version of Dragonfall is a standalone release of Harebrained Scheme's DLC campaign for Shadowrun Returns. It comes with an improved game engine, more missions and character customization options, and it packs one hell of a story. If you're familiar with the CRPG genre, the isometric view is probably a familiar sight. Character models are decent enough, although I'd prefer if they reflected all of your gear and augments. But we've seen where pouring development time into obsessing over character models gets us, so I'm assuming this was a necessary sacrifice. At least once the fighting starts, the weapon models do come out. After all, you may not want to send your melee fighter up against that troll with a shotgun. The animations on attacks are a little clunky, but they get the job done. The UI is a couple years behind its time, both in looks and interaction, but we'll touch on the quirks of the system later. Throughout the game, you'll be seeing a lot of your favorite cyberpunk locales, like gritty streets, gritty subway station, luxury corporate high-rise, gritty nightclub, spotless megacorp office, gritty gang hideout. Oh, and the Matrix, a neon and wireframe virtual landscape where Deckers and antivirus programs do battle with each other. If there was one thing the Director's Cut needed, it was an audio upgrade. Let's start with the music. Aside from the killer title music and passable but repetitive battle themes, you're not going to find much that stands out. I suppose it's atmospheric, but as you could guess from the list of atmospheres, there's going to be a lot of fairly drab music. Hey, you mentioned nightclubs! Those must have some Nova-hot cyberpunk beats, I pretend to hear you say. No, not really. This is the music that plays at the seedy drugged-in nightclub. So, the music isn't really inspired. That's not awful. That's the job of the sound effects. Why do these razor attacks sound so squishy? And why is this minigun revving up and back down after every attack? Is this subway station really the best place to be assembling the team and handing out our gear for every mission? And who fed this dog a typewriter? This game is a turn-based tactics CRPG. Think of it like a combination of Baldur's Gate and XCOM, but not nearly as fleshed out in either of those categories. To create your character, you'll choose a name, a race, and a class. Shadowrun's twist on Cyberpunk is that magic has also returned to the world, and brought with it the metahuman races. So, in addition to human, you can be an elf, orc, dwarf, or troll. The setting opens up some interesting class options as well. Street samurais are fighters, specializing in either melee or guns. Mages are your blaster casters. They dish out direct damage with fireballs, but can also buff the party a little bit and heal them up. Deckers are your hackers. They jack into the Matrix, steal data, take out enemy deckers, and control systems in the physical world. Shamans are your support casters. They can create cover, buff friends, and summon spirits to help you in battle. But be careful, the spirits are fickle and may turn on their masters on any given round. Riggers are the Decker's cousin that focuses on hardware. They pilot drones into combat. And finally, physical adepts are your unarmed specialists. They're basically D&D monks. If you have a wacky idea or want to min-max, you're always free to ignore these pre-built classes and select your own abilities as well. For this run, I wanted to maximize my cyberpunk potential, so I ran as a Decker. The game plays like a typical CRPG, where you can explore the environment, interact with some objects via skill checks, and speak to NPCs. There's no dice rolls in these segments. If you have the required attribute score, you can just use the dialogue option. Otherwise, it'll be grayed out. I'd prefer it if you couldn't see these options at all, but at least you can kind of get a feel for how other playthroughs might go if you spec'd into different skills. And as an added bonus, the dialogue option that requires a skill check may not always be the best one in any situation. The exploration portion of the levels are nothing too crazy, but you definitely feel like your skills play a role in how you approach the level, so it's really solid in my book. Sometimes you can even overcome challenges by being a smart player and not relying on your character's skills at all. I didn't have the password to this terminal, but this hotel doesn't seem to have the highest security standards, so let's just try something out. Wow, I can't believe that actually worked. This isn't the only time I've been able to figure out a password without being told what it is. That's just really solid world building. Once combat starts, you'll enter turn-based mode. There's no initiative system, so you'll take all of your actions for your team, and then all of the enemies will take their actions. This can lead to some really bursty damage, and is probably my biggest complaint with the combat system. Better hope they save their big hit for last, because magical healing works just like an undo button for the last amount of damage taken, no matter how big the amount. Just like XCOM, cover is king. Cover will drastically reduce chances to hit, completely eliminate critical hit chance, and just straight up reduce the damage from taking a hit. Being caught in the open isn't advised, but it's a lot better than having your back to something. That causes you to be flanked, which increases this critical hit chance against you. If an enemy can't be flushed or flanked, you can try sending in a melee specialist. Getting hit in melee will make them stand up and lose their cover. The system works, and it makes you think about the order you should execute each crewmate's moves in to make the entire team more effective. How did I learn all this stuff, by the way? Mostly luck. Unfortunately, the game lacks tutorial and manual. It's missing a lot of information, actually. It says increasing my ranged combat will increase my chance to hit, but by how much? The same goes for a Smart Link weapon. The aim spell explicitly says it will boost your chance to hit by 12%, so why can't I get a number from these? Does the game use the D6 system from the tabletop game? That would explain why it's difficult to give exact numbers on accuracy, but it's never really addressed. If you want my advice, just go for the rule of cool. The game's not that hard, even on the harder difficulty settings, so play whatever you want, don't worry about the numbers. In between missions, you'll have the opportunity to talk to your crew and the members of the neighborhood where your crew holds up. You can buy new weapons, technology, spells, and even implant augmentations. Be careful of this last one. While you may be cleansing yourself of fallible metahuman flesh, you also lose your essence, which is important if you're a caster. But I don't mess with that magic nonsense, so cut away, Doc! Vendor interactions are one of the more opaque UI systems in the game, unfortunately. All of your items are held back in your stash, so unless you stop by to check, you won't know what you have to sell until you actually start selling to a vendor. You also can't easily access the stats of the rest of your team, so unless you memorized it during your last run with them, it might be a bit of a gamble if they can even equip the nice new gun you decided to buy for them. The last thing I'd like to mention is about rationing supplies. Don't worry about it. Normally, in a CRPG like this, I'd expect to be supplying my team members from a communal stash for each run. That's not the case here. They're professionals, so they stock up and bring their own gear every time. Think of their loadout as limited use abilities instead of supplies. You can choose to lend them weapons or supplies from the communal stash if you want to, but they already come fairly stocked to begin with. I'm a bit torn on this. On the one hand, it reduces the micromanagement aspect of party loadout, but it also seems too generous. Finding or buying medkits seems pointless when you know that your medic will just get 4 at the beginning of the next mission. You'll also have to remember to re-equip that great shotgun you found every mission if you want your teammate to use it. I think this could be easily solved by adding it as a difficulty option called something like Persistent Team Inventory, but that's just my 2 cents. Alright, the story is the real reason you're here. A simple run goes south when your crew's leader in Decker gets iced, and sends you spinning straight into a conspiracy that is far above your pay grade. As you learn about a long-dead dragon, radioactive wastelands, and a scientist war hero who's gone off the grid, you quickly realize your team and the entire city of Berlin is in grave danger. Along the way, you'll get plenty of your usual cyberpunk trappings: gang wars, corporate espionage and sabotage, cyber heists, unethical cybernetic experiments. You name it, there's probably a mission about it. The setting is unique to say the least. The Berlin Flux State is one of the few places on Earth not owned and controlled by megacorporations. It's anarchistic in nature, and any attempt at leadership is fleeting at best, bound to be taken away when popular opinion differs or somebody with a bigger gun takes it. It's a fun setting to be a Shadowrunner in. Alliances are tense, and everybody is always on the lookout for an opportunity to get ahead. But, in the end, you know you're dealing with people who have real motivations and emotions, not some heartless corp that will screw you over because it's better for their profit margin. Speaking of motivations and emotions, you have a really well-written crew. Your crew of Shadowrunners aren't just tools to get missions done, they're a gritty, messed-up family. They each have a personality and will develop a unique relationship with you throughout the game. Iger, your troll weapon specialist, is one of the most refreshing companions I've seen in a CRPG. At the beginning, she hates you. She blames you for Monica's death, she thinks you're completely incompetent. But respect for the chain of command and her friend's dying wishes means that she begrudgingly accepts you as the leader. She's not afraid to let you know exactly what she thinks of your decisions, and if you show any weakness, she will continue losing respect for you. But if you push back and demonstrate your competence through actions, she'll become one of your most loyal allies. Making your crew happy gives you more than just a good feeling as well. By befriending them and helping them solve their problems, they often gain powers. For example, Dietrich begs you to take him on a mission to infiltrate and stop a metahuman hate group because he's learned that his nephew has recently taken up with the group. He wants to stop the kid from going down this dark path. If you bring him along, not only do you stand a chance at convincing his nephew to help you instead of fight you, Dietrich's deity will be pleased with his actions and grant him new powers that you can use for the rest of the game. The story of Dragonfall is hands down one of my favorite RPG storylines of all time. For every over-the-top, edgy cyberpunk moral choice you have to make, there's at least two subtler moral conundrums that actually made me take a moment and think. People and their problems feel real, and you want to help them, but there's not always a clear right choice. The story is really well paced, taking part in roughly 3 acts, and the twists that you encounter genuinely surprised me. Overall, this story is the reason you should play this game. This game is very much a diamond in the rough. It may actually be completely encased in stone, but if you want a gripping cyberpunk story, it's easy enough to see the gem. Between the lack of bugs, the great linear story, and the simplified tactical gameplay, I'd highly recommend this to somebody looking for an entry point into the classic RPG genre. If you're a hardcore fan of the genre, the story is well worth coming for, but don't expect a system that's as mechanically deep as Baldur's Gate or Fallout. The game should be about $15 on Steam or GOG, but I have seen it as cheap as $3 in Steam sales, and at that price, it's a definite buy. Sorry for getting this video out a bit later than anticipated. It's been a really busy month for me. I'm still dedicated to trying to keep the pace to 1 video per month, and the viewership on these first couple of videos has been really motivating. I have plenty of games on the backlog, but I'm always on the lookout for recommendations for these reviews, especially if it's older or something that's just way out there. Feel free to drop those suggestions in the comments. I think I can handle reading all of them for now. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next month with some more Shadowrun.